Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to our English News Edition, coming to you from Canal, Algérie, to the headlines. The President of the Republic receives the Ghanaian ambassador to Algiers, who bid him a farewell visit by the end of his mission in our country. Agreements and memoranda of understanding are signed by the Algerian-Russian Joint Commission to boost several fields of bilateral cooperation. As part of diversifying Algeria's exports, more than 20,000 tons of steels are exported to the United States, an operation to be followed by others from the port of Erzil. Crimes of the Moroccan occupier against the Sahrawi people are still underway, and anti-personnel mines along the Wall of Shame keep claiming more lives. Good evening, those were today's headlines. First in our news, the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, received on Wednesday the Ambassador of Ghana, Nana Kwesi Arhen, who bid him a farewell at the end of his mission in Algeria. The audience took place at the Presidency of the Republic in the presence of Principal Private Secretary Abdelaziz Khalaf. Following the audience, the Ghanaian Ambassador Nana Kwesi Arhen made the following statement.
I came to meet His Excellency President Tebboune at the end of my career, at the end of my tour of duty as Ambassador of Ghana to Algeria, not to say goodbye to him, but as family to take stock of what I've been able to do. And we were pleased to talk about bilateral relations and the need for Ghana and Algeria to go beyond traditional cordial relations into the economic realm, because, as Frank Fanon said, the independence of countries is meaningless unless there is economic and social development. I really shared the opinion of His Excellency, the President, that Algeria would come up again as the beacon of hope for the socio-economic development of Africa, which is the second phase of our liberation efforts. I also came to thank the Algerian people for their goodwill, for their hospitality, and the support that enabled me to accomplish my role as Ambassador of Ghana to this beautiful country. I'm not going to Ghana with any regrets. I'm going to Ghana to say that Algerian people have been so well with me. They have done well with me. They have treated me very well. And I hope one day I will come back to see Algeria assuming its rightful role as the beacon of Africa's socio-economic development. Thank you very much.
Prime Minister Ayman bin Abdurrahman chaired on Wednesday a cabinet meeting during which the government examined the following points. In the field of national defense, the government has studied a preliminary bill amending and supplementing the Decree number 7128, dated the 22nd of April 1971, containing the Code of Military Justice, ahead of its submission to the Council of Ministers meeting. In the field of work, the government has studied a preliminary bill initiated by the Ministry of Labor, Employment and Social Security, relating to freedom of association, protection of the right of trade unions, prevention and settlement of collective work disputes. In the field of health, the government listened to a presentation by the Minister of Health on the completion of an Algerian Qatari hospital with a capacity of 400 beds that meets international standards in hospital engineering and management. This project falls within the framework of bilateral cooperation with the State of Qatar and comes pursuant to the instructions of the President of the Republic. For his part, the Minister of Transport made the presentation on the status of ports and evoked a series of measures likely to remove obstacles and improve management. The Minister of Foreign Affairs and the National Community Abroad Ramtal Amamra received on Wednesday in Algiers the Deputy Secretary General of the Arab League Hussam Zaki as part of the constant cooperation with the Algerian authorities to step up the preparation for the Arab Summit to be held in Algiers 1st and 2nd of the upcoming November. In the presence of delegations of both parties, the Minister presided over a working session dedicated to the examination and the presentation of all the organizational aspects and measures taken by the Algerian authorities to receive the Arab delegations in the best conditions. The Deputy Secretary General of the Arab League, Hussam Zaki, expressed the gratitude of the Secretariat of the Arab League to all the institutions of the Algerian state for the efforts, means deployed, and facilitations put in place to host the Arab Summit. A unified Arab stamp 2022 was issued on the occasion of the Arab Summit in Algiers 1st and 2nd of upcoming November. The Secretary General of the Ministry of Posts and Telecommunications and the Deputy Secretary General of the Arab League, Hussam Zaki, proceeded to the first day cancellation of this stamp during a ceremony held in Algiers in the presence of the Special Envoy in charge of the Arab countries file, Noureddin Awam. The Sonatrach Group signed on Wednesday agreements with the Italian group Canal as part of their contracts for the sale and purchase of natural gas destined for the Italian and Spanish markets. The two sides reaffirmed their readiness to consolidate their historic partnership, to upgrade the commercial relationship in the field of natural gas, to preserve the stability of supply and strengthening the energy security. The 10th session of the joint Algerian-Russian Intergovernmental Commission of Economic Trade, Scientific and Technical Cooperation was held on Wednesday in Algiers. Manal Ammari has more.
This session was co-chaired by the Agriculture and Rural Development Minister Mohammad Abdelhafid Henni and his Russian counterpart Dmitry Patrushev, during which many agreements and memorandums of understanding were signed, namely regarding the fields of energy and mines, agriculture, transport, scientific research, as well as water resources and sports. The two parties are committed to developing their cooperation and strengthening trade, which has reached $3 billion in 2021, according to the Agriculture Minister. We signed the minutes related to the roadmap of bilateral cooperation between both countries, and we highlighted the quality of our exchanges that we will strengthen in various areas and upgrade them to the highest levels. The Memorandum of Understanding that we signed concerns the development of our bilateral cooperation in various fields, namely agriculture, energy and mines, higher education, and scientific research, transportation, industry, and the pharmaceutical industry, in addition to sports.
За прошедшие годы реализовано множество.
Algeria is one of Russia's main partners, showcased through our friendship and partnership relations. We are working towards the implementation of joint vital projects through the establishment of strategic partnership in several areas like agriculture, energy, higher education, and pharmaceutical industry. We are also working to diversify imports and promoting the exchange of economic products.
Still in the economic sector, we head to Iran for this export operation of no less than 20,000 tons of steel to the United States. Details with Najah Tayyar.
20,000 tons of steel exported to USA via the port of Erzurum, considered as the country's first hydrocarbon exhibition port. This port has witnessed an intense activity, particularly after the end of the first extension works, thus registering an important trade dynamic that is intended to be in line with the national economic strategy regarding the diversification of non-hydrocarbon exports. The managers are expecting the export of more than 4 million tons of non-hydrocarbon goods. We are in the process of loading 20,000 tons of steel bound for the United States. Since last August, we have exported the equivalent of 300,000 tons of cement, iron, and other non-hydrocarbon goods, and 1.8 million tons of granular urea. Increasing the dock capacity, this will be possible since the installation of a new quay equipped with a conveyor. The construction of this infrastructure with a length of 1,200 linear meters required 4 years. This is the most important infrastructure at the national level of the Mediterranean basin. With the operating prospect of Raj Bilet, we will be able to export steel from this port company. With a view to improve its services, the managers intend to increase the processing capacity of goods over the few next months.
The International Agriculture Fair began in Mustaganem with the participation of more than 200 national and foreign exhibitors. Najah Tayyar has more.
Mosta Expo Fair brought together more than 200 national and foreign exhibitors, held under the motto, the outcome of the 60th anniversary of sustainable work to achieve food security, a communication space which has allowed the participants of the sector to strengthen exchanges and transactions, particularly in the technical and innovations field. 40 foreign exhibitors and representatives of 10 startups took part in this event. We looked for involving young project leaders. As a young project leader, we found the support of the public authorities. Netherlands is the guest of honor of this second edition, a country with which Algeria has significant trade relations, the objective being to set up partnership in the field of innovations. We aim to develop the agricultural sector with all its sectors by highlighting the productive capacities of the country throughout all its regions. This type of economic event highlights the potential of the agricultural sector as well as the various development programs and advantages granted by the public authorities to agricultural producers.
The body of the late war veteran Zineb Belmili that left a big impact on journalism and culture arrived on Wednesday. She passed away last Saturday at the age of 87 years. The Minister of War Veterans, advisors to the President of the Republic, and members of the late's family were all present. Detachments of the National People's Army carried out several operations during which they arrested 10 support elements to terrorist groups and 39 drug traffickers and thwarted attempts to introduce large quantities of drugs through the borders with Morocco. These quality results reflect the high professionalism, vigilance, and permanent availability of our armed forces. Manal Ammari.
As part of the fight against terrorism, detachments of the National People's Army arrested 10 support elements to terrorist groups in distinct operations throughout the national territory, while other detachments seized during search and sweep operations at Al-Mani'a 1 machine gun, 535 bullets, as well as other items. Within the framework of the fight against organized crime and in continuity of the intense efforts aiming to thwart the scourge of drug trafficking in our country, combined detachments of the National People's Army in coordination with other security services arrested during various operations carried out across the military regions 39 drug traffickers and thwarted attempts to introduce large quantities of drugs supplied from the borders with Morocco, amounting to 14 quintals and 17 kilograms of cannabis, in addition to 121,015 psychotropic tablets. Furthermore, detachments of the National People's Army intercepted in Tamanrasset, Burj Baji Mukhtar, Ain Gizam and Janet 100 individuals and seized 38 vehicles, 312 generators, 155 jackhammers, 6 metal detectors, 30 tons of a mixture of gold and jewels, as well as detonation tools and equipment used in illicit gold mining operations, while 30 other individuals were arrested and 7 hunting rifles, quantities of foodstuffs destined for smuggling amounting to 36.5 tons, 73 quintals of tobacco, and 10,971 units of various beverages were seized in Laghwat, Biskra, El Wad, Burj Baji Mukhtar, Stif, Patna, and Oran. In a similar context, border guards thwarted, in coordination with services of the National Gendarmerie, attempts to smuggle large quantities of fuel amounting to 29,660 liters in Burj Baji Mukhtar, Tamanrasset, and El Wad. For their part, Coast Guards thwarted at the level of our national borders illegal immigration attempts and proceeded to saving 209 individuals on board of craft-built boats, while 165 illegal immigrants of different nationalities were arrested throughout the national territory.
Abroad, the regional parliament of the Balearic Islands condemned the tragedy of Nador Milila, during which at least 37 sub-Saharan migrants were killed by Moroccan forces while trying to reach Spain via the Moroccan enclave. This initiative resulted in the adoption of several other points from different parliamentary groups. These include a request to the central government to honor and enforce its commitments in the field of defending human rights on its own territory and outside. Military operations continue along the Wall of Shame in Western Sahara. The Sahrawi People's Liberation Army carried out attacks against entrenchments of the Moroccan occupation forces in the sectors of Mahbas, Al-Bakari and Houza, sustaining heavy human and material losses for the occupier. Along the Wall of Shame, or more precisely the Wall of Sand, more than 10 million anti-personnel mines are laid over 2,700 kilometers. These machines of death expose the people to permanent danger or disability. The Makhzen refuses to sign the international convention banning anti-personnel mines. More details with Anya Al-Bahri.
We are in Western Sahara, and more precisely in Mahbas region, a region that continues to suffer from the consequences of anti-personnel mines. More than 10 million anti-personnel mines are still buried along the Wall of Shame over 2,700 kilometers. These machines of death still continue to expose our people to permanent danger. My arm was amputated due to an explosion of an anti-personnel mine. I was 15 years old when I was injured by the explosion of an anti-personnel mine. Unfortunately, I had my leg amputated. Several UN and human rights organizations have called on many occasions for the need to stop this catastrophe, Western Sahara being ranked among the 10 most mined countries in the world. The Moroccan occupier continues to plant these anti-personnel mines all along the Wall of Shame. At the time of the ceasefire, they didn't hesitate to lay new generation mines. In addition to these engines of death, the Makhzen uses drones to kill the Sahrawi people. Morocco still refuses to sign the international convention banning anti-personnel mines, extending thus the human tragedy in the Sahrawi territories, while Western Sahara signed the Geneva Convention in 2005.
Back to our country, the tribal champion of the Algerian Football Championship, namely CR Belouizdad, finally received the league's trophy in a convivial ceremony postponed for several times. Rania Al-Bahri covered the event and compiled the following story.
The red and white team of CR Belouizdad finally received the 2021-2022 champion trophy in a ceremony that was postponed several times for various reasons, including the tragic death of Bilal Ben Hamouda, USM Algiers player. The ceremony was held at the headquarters of the club in a restricted committee and in the presence of members of the management committee, as well as some players and some club fans. The Professional Football League was represented by President Mr. Abdelkarim Madouar to hand over this long-awaited trophy by congratulating the CRB for its third running shield and by wishing the Algerian representative much success in the African Champions League competition. The trophy ceremony was postponed before the start of the competition, and unfortunately after the death of Ben Hamouda, I have been at the head of professional league since 2018. This is the third trophy that CRB have won, and we hope that CRB will win the African Champions League Cup. The president of CR Belouizdad, Mohamed Belhaj, is congratulated on this third distinction. Well deserved, according to him. He did not, however, fail to put a bit of pressure on his team by specifying that the African Champions League contest is an essential objective. We couldn't invite a lot of people because the space is very small, barely 50 people. We have two objectives, keeping our title and winning the African Cup. We got ready for that, so there is no reason. The CRB is a team that is up to this challenge. The ceremony was marked by an excellent organization and especially a convivial atmosphere. Good luck to CR Belouizdad and their captain Sofiane Bouchard, representing our country in the most prestigious continental competition.
And with that, we wrap up our news bulletin. Thank you for watching. Have a great night.